The Senate will now come to order. If I could have everyone please head to their seats. The Pledge of Allegiance will now be led by Chief of Staff Tax, followed by a moment of silence and reflection.
Please stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated.
We are now in a moment of silence and reflection. The clerk will now call the roll. Please, if you're here proxying for another senator, please say proxy, or otherwise that senator will be counted unexcused. Also, when you're mentioning if you're present or not, please project. Please use your outside voice so we can hear over the fans. Thank you.
Darby. Lazarenu. Faber. Peterson. Keene.
She's present, yes.
Wynn. Calder. Malachi. Nelson. Kennedy. Gallovati. Heater. Creed. Montalto. Durham. Gudusi. Badalamani. Hurd. Miller. Whitehead. Apple. Hensley. Vaught. Kwame. Racy.
Kwame is proxy.
Bracy. Galt. Robinson. Hamilton. Harvey. Kuhn. Sane. Bryant. Goldstein. Ravi. Barr. Morgan. Wenzel.
The clerk will now tabulate. Is there a motion to enter recess while we work to get quorum? Without objection, so ordered. We're now standing in a standing recess. Just as clarification, we cannot conduct business without quorum. So we will be sitting here until we have quorum. Great. We will let you know in just one second, Senator Morgan. No, Miller's here. Miller is here. Yes, you can just say it. Louis got you. That's not documented, it will be counted. The Senate will now come back to order. The clerk will call the roll again. Please state if you are a proxy loudly. State that you are a proxy. If you are present, state loudly that you are present. The fans in here make it very hard to hear. And if we think we didn't get you, please raise your placard so I can repeat it into the microphone for my staff. Thank you. The clerk will now call the roll.
Darby, Lazarenu, Baber, Peterson, Keen, Wynn, Calder, Malachi, Nelson, Kennedy, Galavati, Heater, Creed, Montalto, Durham, Fiduci, Badlamani, Hurd, Miller, Whitehead, Apple, Hensley, Vaught, Kwame, Bracy, Galt, Robinson, Hamilton, Harvey, Kuhn, Sane, Bryant, Goldstein, Ravi, Barr, Morgan, Wenzel.
The clerk will now tabulate. With the quorum being present, is there a motion to approve the Journal of April 12th, 2023 as found online? Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. We are now in line for general orders of the Senate, beginning with reports from Senate leadership. Speaker Pro Tempore Hurd is recognized to give a report on the Rules Committee.
Good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate everyone sticking in here for the thick of it. But Rules had a very successful meeting on Sunday. In addition to moving SBL 11507 onto the floor, which will be introduced later today, we also had great discussions about how the interview processes are going for our nominees and our senators, and we're looking forward to coming back strong in the fall. With that being said, I wanted to update you all about the Summer Advisory Council. That's a great opportunity, and you guys will have the opportunity to add yourself to the committee during the motion period. And just to be clear for senators, that is essentially the Senate over the summer. It's a check and balance. It's a way to stay involved. It looks great on a resume. And above all, it's a way to become more knowledgeable about student government and grow over the summer instead of just kind of staying where you're at and coming back in the fall and having to catch up. So I highly recommend it. I'm going to be the one chairing that, and I promise I'll make it low commitment for you. And at the very least, my understanding is it'll be once every 3 weeks. So just give it a try. And I would encourage everyone to have a great summer and reach out to me with any questions. Thank you. I yield to questions.
The Speaker Pro Tempore yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Speaker Pro Tempore? Senator.
We have not scheduled the meetings yet, but it's my intention to send out a doodle poll and just get the best availability for everyone.
Any other questions for the Speaker Pro Tempore? Seeing none, thank you so much. We will now hear a report from the Academics Committee. Chairwoman Creed, you are recognized.
Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's having a good week. The Academics Committee met Monday at 7 in LSC as usual. This meeting, we just discussed kind of end of the year stuff. We talked about the Summer Advisory Committee.
If the chairwoman could please speak more into the microphone. Thank
Sorry.
you.
We talked about the Summer Advisory Committee and meeting times next semester. We've completed our interviews. We found nominee Ariel Pangetoa Loreto favorable for Division Secretary of Student Services and Maddie Moore favorable for Deputy Secretary Academics. We also discussed legislation. SBL 11503 we found unfavorable, but we are open to amendments to finding it favorable, and we found SBL 11504 favorable. And with that, I yield to questions.
The chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairwoman? Seeing none, thank you so much. We will now hear a report from the Finance Committee. Chairman Kuhn, you are recognized.
Hi, folks. The Finance Committee met twice this week, and we found all 10 of our lovely candidates favorable. We met on both Friday and on Monday. For the position of Comptroller, we found unanimously favorable Ali Mashad, Eleanor McMakin, John McGuire, Kevin Mathy, Stephen O'Callahan, Alex Litkin, Katie Wilson, Olivia Callahan, and Aiden Campbell, as well as Natalia Berti to the Chief Comptroller position. We also voted on legislation during our meetings, finding both SBL 11504 and SBL 11506 unanimously favorable, and SBL 11503 just favorable. I yield to questions.
The chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairman? Seeing none, thank you so much. We will now hear a report from the Health and Safety Committee. Chairwoman Ravi, you are recognized.
Hi guys, hope you're having a good Wednesday so far. Over the past 2 weeks, we interviewed 3 nominees for cabinet positions. We found them all favorable. We also elected a vice chair, which I neglected to mention last week. Isabel will be our vice chair for this term. On top of that, this week we went through some legislation. We found SBL 11503 unfavorable. We found SBL 11504 favorable with amendment, and we found SBL 11506, the budget, unanimously favorable. In addition to these things, we basically talked about some of the stuff that we're going to be doing coming up on the next term, and we narrowed down health and safety's term to 3 major projects. The first project being our menstrual product drive, putting menstrual products in every single dorm around campus. The second one is going to be the flu shot combination drive with the COVID vaccine, and we hope to partner with the School of Pharmacy to do that. And our third major initiative is a safety and transportation initiative. We're going to be looking at bus routes, increasing accessibility. We're going to expand the Uber discount initiative. We're going to change how parking passes are allocated and work with the Blue Bike for Student passes. And finally, we discussed the Summer Advisory Committee with my other committee members, and I'm excited to see who will be joining the Summer Advisory Committee today. And with that, I yield to questions.
The chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairwoman? Seeing none, thank you so much. We will now hear a report from the Inclusion and Equity Committee. Chief of Staff Tax, you are recognized.
This week, Inclusion and Equity met virtually. They found SBL 11503 and SBL 11504 unfavorable, and they found SBL 11506 favorable.
Does the Chief of Staff yield to questions?
I yield my time to questions.
Are there any questions for the Chief of Staff? Seeing none, thank you so much. We will now hear a report from the Judiciary Committee. Chairman Bryant, you are recognized.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. So, Judiciary had a lot of stuff that we got done. We met yesterday, Tuesday, starting at 5 p.m. We didn't adjourn until 7:25, so we got a lot of stuff done. So, first off, to start with legislation, we reviewed SBL 11506, SBL 11501, SBL 11502, SBL 11503, and SBL 11504. So all were found unanimously favorable. And SBL 11503 was found unanimously favorable with the amendments proposed by Senator Kuhn, who I also worked to compromise, and we'll discuss further on when we get to that piece of legislation introduced, and Senator Kuhn will also come up and speak on it. But they were found unanimously favorable with those amendments. Next, we did conduct hearings. So first off, I'll start. We found unanimously favorable Maeve Smith for Attorney General, Dylan Pedmores for Elections Commissioner, Natalie Trimble for Elections Commission, Reese Lycan for Division Secretary of Government Relations, Emily Rabin for Director of National Lobbying Agency, and Mary Grace Laborowski for Director of State Lobbying Agency. Those were all found unanimously favorable by the Judiciary Committee. And then another one, we also have a favorable rating and report for Mr. KJ Lemon for Division Secretary of University Relations. For full transparency's sake, there was a split vote amongst the committee, but Senate Rules and Procedures called that when there's a split vote like that, it goes to the favorable. And with that in mind, the committee endorses him as favorable rating for this position. So there should be no issue there. And with that, that brings us up to speed. I will yield to questions.
The chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairman? Seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We will now hear a report from the Powers and Responsibilities Committee. Chairwoman Baber, you are recognized.
Powers and Responsibilities met from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. yesterday. We handled joint interviews with the Judiciary Committee for 5 candidates, and we found favorable Dylan Pedmores for Elections Commissioner, Natalie Trimble for Elections Commission, Reese Lycan for Deputy Secretary of Government Relations, Emily Rabin for Director of the National Lobbying Agency, Mary Grace Laborowski for the Director of the State Lobbying Agency, and we had 1 nominee found unfavorable for the Deputy Secretary of IT and Infrastructure. But we encourage him to be renominated. For legislation, we found favorable SBL 11501, 02, 03, 04, 05, and 06. I yield my time to questions.
The chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairwoman? Seeing none, thank you so much. We will now hear a report from the Student Life Committee. Is there any senator that can give a standing report? Vice Chairwoman, you are recognized.
Yeah, so Chairwoman Malachi couldn't be here today, so I'll present for her. But the Student Life Committee met twice this week, once on Thursday at 5 and then on Sunday at 2. We voted on our vice chair, that's me, and decided to hold our committee meetings next semester Wednesdays at 4. We voted on SPL 11503, and it was found unfavorable. We hadn't been introduced to the amendments yet because we voted on Sunday, so that's that. And then we voted on SPL 11504 as favorable. We also found Elizabeth Cole and Jamie Shaw unanimously favorable, and Brilken Navarez unanimously favorable for the Deputy Secretary of Disability Services. And with that, I yield my time to questions.
And point of information, the amendments she is referencing have yet to be motioned to be added to the bill. So if anyone is confused on legislative cycle. The Vice Chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Vice Chairwoman? Seeing none, thank you so much. We will now hear a report from the Sustainability Committee. Chairwoman Heater, you are recognized.
Hi, everyone. So we had our second meeting this Tuesday at 5 p.m. So we found nominee Peter Sutton favorable for the position of Deputy Secretary of Sustainability. And we also found nominee Mariah Hoover unanimously favorable for the position of Division Secretary of Campus Wellness. Regarding legislation, for SBL 11506, introduced by Chairman Kuhn, we found that unanimously favorable. For SBL 11503, we did find that unfavorable, but we would most likely find it favorable with an amendment. So I just want to put that out there. And then for SBL 11504, the same situation, we found it unfavorable, but we are super open to amendments or discussion and further clarification. We also discussed our action plan and just what contacts we're going to be reaching out to over the summer to start sustainability initiatives, especially with like new construction going on at the Russell House, and then also working with the executive branch, the people we just confirmed as nominees, on their initiatives. I'd also encourage anybody to think about joining the Sustainability Committee for next semester, because we're small but mighty and we're doing good work in a good place to get some things done. So if you're interested in that, talk to me after this. And with that, I yield to questions.
The chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairwoman? Seeing none, thank you so much. We will now have a report from the Freshman Council. Are there any representatives from the Freshman Council present? Seeing none. We will now hear a report from the Constitutional Council. Chief Justice Buchmeier, you are recognized.
Good evening, everyone. Essentially, Constitutional Council has not had anything new to report this time. From a personal note, as Chief Justice, I've largely just been swearing people in over these past couple weeks, and I believe I'm swearing in the comptrollers later this evening. But besides that, there's just simply not much to report from the Constitutional Council at this time. With that, I yield to questions.
The Chief Justice yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Chief Justice? Seeing none, thank you so much. We are now in line for a report from the Speaker of the Senate, Cameron Keith Eubanks. Chief of Staff Tax, you are recognized.
Hi, everyone. So some updates from our office. We are still looking for a legislative aid position and a director of senatorial outreach position. So we are still looking on finding people to interview for that. As for updates for you guys, I would like to emphasize, this was in the email that was sent out just a little bit ago. But if you have already sponsored or written an amendment, please wait to motion to add the amendment, not during the motion period, but during the call of legislation. So I did just want to emphasize that. Also, again, if you want to join the Summer Advisory Council, please use the motion period to do so. And then I wanted to emphasize again, attendance, you need to let me know at least 24 hours in advance if you are not going to be here. I need a written response from you, and I also need you to fill out the proxy form. However, if you wake up and you're sick in the morning, please let me know as soon as possible. If you tell someone to be your proxy, but I don't have anything from you, we have to count it as unexcused. There was a situation that I did just want to bring up just to make sure everyone is aware of your role. But if you are not a chairperson, you cannot reach out to a nominee and tell them whether they were found favorable or unfavorable. That is not your job. That is up to the chairperson to tell them that. We don't want any additional conflicts to come from that if they are told by someone who is not the chairperson. So please understand that is completely unacceptable and should not happen again. With that, I yield my time to questions.
And point of information for the amendments, the only reason we would prefer you to do it when the legislation is being explained or debated is it helps senators kind of refocus their mind on the task at hand. During the motion period, there's a lot of leaving committees, a lot of other business, so we want to make sure we give the amendments the proper time to be discussed. And the Chief of Staff yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Chief of Staff? Seeing none, thank you so much. We are now in line for a report from the Student Body Treasurer, Treasurer Hannah Augsbach-Lama. You are recognized.
Hi guys. Not a whole lot to report this week. The comptrollers are going to be sworn in later tonight. Other than that, we were just preparing them for their interviews and just looking over the budget one more time, getting those final checks. But other than that, nothing really new going on. So other than that, I yield to questions.
The treasurer yields to questions. Are there any questions for the student body treasurer? Seeing none, thank you so much. We are now in line for a report from the student body vice president. Vice President Reeves, you are recognized.
Hey guys, nothing much from me this week. VP staff did meet last night, and we're kind of getting action plans kind of into place and everything like that. But there's nothing really else much from me. Hope you all have a great rest of your week, and best of luck on finals. With that, I yield to questions.
The Madam Vice President yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Vice President? Seeing none, thank you so much. We are now in line for a report from the student body president. President Thompson, you are recognized. Excuse me, Director of Legislative Affairs, Aiden Lloyd, you are recognized.
All right. Hello, everyone. So unfortunately, Emmy couldn't be here today due to planning for the event tonight. But I will just start off by saying that she says thank you to everyone who has been doing and putting in the work for the confirmation interviews for cabinet. She really appreciates all your hard work, your dedication. And
if I could have the director just lean a little bit more into the microphone.
She really appreciates all the hard work and the dedication everyone's put into these interviews, and she is excited to look forward to working with these nominees more closely come this fall term. Secondly, a reminder that on Monday at 11 a.m. next Monday on Green Street, there will be a Meet the President Hibachi by the Horseshoe. That will include President Thompson as well as President Emeritus. They will be talking to students, passing out free fried rice, teriyaki chicken, and white sauce. On the third point, exciting news, phone chargers underneath the student section of the stadium are officially happening. A huge shout out to to athletics for being willing to sponsor this and work so closely. Either President Thompson or Vice President Reeves will be sending out more information about the logistics on this soon, so everyone can see how it's going to work, what the process will look like. Fourth point, President Thompson is in the process of working with the VPSA and Jeff Perkins on creating a shuttle route that would pick up students from several different locations on campus and would take them to a nearby grocery store. And she will keep everyone informed on a date on that and how the plan will look. This week, she also met with Dr. Kristen Kennedy, the Dean of Residence here at the University of South Carolina, and she has a meeting tomorrow with the Chief of USCPD. This Friday is her first official Board of Trustees meeting, and she will look forward to representing the students well there. And last but not least, if anyone hasn't seen the update on it, the SG event tonight is no longer at Pearl's Oyster Bar. It is going to be at Vista Union. Same time, everything like that. Make sure to show up, bring your friends, and tickets are $5. So to wrap it up, she would like to thank everyone for an amazing start to the term. She wishes everyone best of luck on finals. Congratulations to the seniors that are graduating, and she hopes to see you all tonight. I yield to questions.
The director yields to questions. Are there any questions for the director? Seeing none, thank you so much. We are now in line for special orders of the Senate. Are there any letters, petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the Office of the Speaker of the Student Senate requesting a one-week extension for the following staff positions: Director of Senatorial Outreach and Legislative Aid.
The question is of a one-week extension on the appointment of Director of Senatorial Outreach and the Legislative Aid position. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The extension is granted. Continuing on with special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the Office of the Student Body Vice President concerning the appointment of staff positions, Press Secretary.
Received. Continuing on with special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read?
A communication from the Office of the Student Body President requesting a 1-week extension for the following position, Elections Commission member.
The question is of a 1-week extension on the appointment of Elections Commission's member. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The extension is granted. Continuing on with special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other? The clerk will now read.
Application of William Barnes, Asia Murchison, Jacqueline Boltman, Luke Phillips, Donnie Lapsley, Rachel Gozinski, Avani Patel, Andrew Lehman, Brandon Marlowe, Tavin Dixon, Dakota Wilkinson, and Shinlin to be seated in the 115th Student Senate.
This application is referred to the Powers and Responsibilities Committee. Continuing on with special orders of the Senate, are there any petitions, appointments, applications, or other? The clerk will now read. Seeing no more special orders of the Senate, we are now in line for the motion period. Are there any motions on the floor? Senator Hamilton. There's been a motion to remove Senator Hamilton from the Student Life Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Are there any other motions? Senator. There's been a motion to remove the Vice Chairwoman from the Academics Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Godisi. There's been a motion to appoint Senator Wenzel as his proxy. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator. Granted. Chairman Bryant. There's been a motion to confirm Maeve Smith to the position of Attorney General. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The nominee is confirmed. Chairman. There's been a motion to confirm KJ Lemon to the position of Division Secretary of University Relations. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The nominee is confirmed. Chairman. There's been a motion to confirm Dylan Pettimores to the position of Elections Commissioner. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The nominee is confirmed. Chairman. There's been a motion to confirm Reese Lycan to the position of Division Secretary of Government Relations. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The nominee is confirmed. Chairman. There's been a motion to confirm Natalie Tremble to the position of Elections Commission member. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The nominee is confirmed. Chairman. There's been a motion to confirm Emily Rabin to the position of National Lobbying Agency. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The nominee is confirmed. Chairman. There's been a motion to confirm Mary Grace Laborowski to this. Can you repeat the motion, please? There's been a motion to confirm the nominee to the Director of the State Lobbying Agency. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The nominee is confirmed. Senator Peterson. Granted. Chairwoman. There's been a motion to confirm Peter Sutton to the position of Deputy Secretary of Sustainability. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The nominee is confirmed. Chairwoman Heater. There's been a motion to confirm Mariah Hoover to the position of Division Secretary of Campus Wellness. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The nominee is confirmed. Chairwoman Baber. I will recognize that motion when it comes up on the first reading calendar. Thank you. Chairman Kuhn. There's been a motion to confirm the slate of comptrollers to the position of comptrollers. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The nominees are confirmed. Chairman. There's been a motion to confirm Natalia Berti to the position of Chief Comptroller. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The nominee is confirmed. Chairwoman Ravi. Can you repeat your motion, please? There's been a motion to confirm Karishma Armachetti to the Deputy Secretary of Health and Wellness. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The nominee is confirmed. Chairwoman Ravi. There's been a motion to confirm Francesca Maccia to the position of Deputy Secretary of Safety and Transportation. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The nominee is confirmed. Chairwoman Ravi. There's been a motion to confirm Mariah Hoover to the position of Division Secretary of Campus Wellness. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The nominee is confirmed. Chairwoman Creed. There's been a motion to confirm Maddie Moore to the position of Deputy Secretary of Academics. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The nominee is confirmed. Senator Goldstein. Granted. Are there any other motions on the floor? Is there a motion to confirm any other nominees? Is there a motion to join the Summer Advisory Committee? Is there a motion from the Vice Chairwoman of Student Life to confirm the nominee of Ia Cole to the Freshman Council Director and Jameen Shah to the Freshman Council Director? There's been a motion to confirm Ia Cole and Jameen Shah to the position of Freshman Council Co-Directors. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The nominees are confirmed. Chairwoman. Can you repeat your motion, please? Nominee Navarra's point of information has not been interviewed by the Inclusion and Equity Committee just yet, so we will not be able to confirm until she completes her second interview. Any other nominee motions on the floor? Seeing none, are there any motions to join the Summer Advisory Committee? Chairwoman Ravi. There's been a motion for Chairwoman Ravi to join the Summer Advisory Committee. Is there a second? Second. Without objection, so ordered. Chairwoman Creed. There's been a motion to add Chairwoman Creed to the Summer Advisory Committee. Is there a second? Second. Without objection, so ordered. Vice Chairman Hensley. There's been a motion to add Vice Chairman Hensley to the Summary Advisory Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Lazarenu. There's been a motion to add the senator to the Summer Advisory Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Durham. There's been a motion for Senator Durham to join the Summer Advisory Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Vice Chairman Harvey. There's been a motion to add Vice Chairman Harvey to the Summer Advisory Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Whitehead. There's been a motion to add Senator Whitehead to the Summer Advisory Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Miller. There's been a motion to add Senator Miller to the Summer Advisory Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Are there any other motions to join the Summer Advisory Committee? Senator Hamilton. So then it'd just be a situation of you can just like tell the Speaker Pro Tempore that you're no longer on the committee. It's an informal process. Chairwoman Heater. There's been a motion to add Chairwoman Heater to the Summer Advisory Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Hamilton. There's been a motion to add Senator Hamilton to the Summer Advisory Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Are there any other motions to join the Summer Advisory Committee? Are there any other motions on the floor at this time? Is there a motion to suspend the rules to allow the new staff members and newly confirmed nominees to come down and take their oaths of office? Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Chief Justice Buchmeier, you are recognized to come give the oath of office. And if I could please have all the staff members and nominees line up so we can get a nice picture. Don't forget to smile. Are there any other nominees or staff members that are present that need to take their oath of office? Now is the time to do so. All right, go ahead. You guys may be seated. Congratulations. With that being said, are there any more motions on the floor at this time? Seeing none. We're now in the call of the introduction of new legislation. The clerk will now read.
SBL 115-7, introduced by Chairwoman Creed, a bill to amend the codes relating to freshman council meetings.
Chairwoman Creed, you are recognized to speak on the legislation. And point of information, if you're wanting to pass by acclamation when she yields to questions, that would be the time to raise your placard to make that motion.
Hi, guys. So this isn't anything crazy. It's just in the codes. It has freshman council meetings at 6 p.m. on Thursdays, and the school has a lot of stuff going on Thursday, so in order to increase retention rates for those who are in freshman council, this is just moving it to Monday at 6:30. And with that, I yield to questions.
Chairwoman Creed yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairwoman? Chairman Bryant. There's been a motion to pass by acclamation. Is there a motion for a 2-minute recess? Without objection, so ordered. Okay. I've got it. The Senate will now come to order. There's been a motion to pass SBL 115. There's been a motion to pass SBL 11507 by acclamation. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. SBL 11507 is adopted and passed. Continuing on with the call of the introduction of new legislation, the clerk will now read. Hearing none, we are now on the call of on the uncontested calendar. The clerk will now read.
SBL 115-6, introduced by Chairman Kuhn, a bill to allocate funds for student government for the fiscal year 2023 to 2024.
Chairman Kuhn, you are recognized to speak on the legislation.
Hi guys, this is just the annual funding bill for student government. Super crucial legislation here. All the executives worked really hard on this, and they really perfected it, I'd say, from last year. And yeah, I yield to questions.
Chairman Kuhn yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairman? Seeing no more questions, we shall now move on to a vote on the final passage of the legislation. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The legislation is adopted. Continuing on the call of uncontested legislation, the clerk will now read.
SBL 115-2, introduced by Speaker Pro Tempore Hurd and Chairman Bryant, a bill to amend the codes relating to nominee debate periods.
Speaker Pro Tempore Hurd and Chairman Bryant, you are recognized to speak on the legislation.
Good evening, everyone, again. This is SBL 11502, so that was the one where there's a generic provision where if we're discussing anyone at any point, they need to leave the room. This removed that requirement, and I would like to also offer as a point of information that SBL 11505 was withdrawn. We had conversations with the Speaker's office, and that was the one that amended the codes regarding executive session. So this doesn't touch our executive session. This was just dealing with the blanket statement that we need to kick people out of the room all the time if we're discussing them. And I know we've had a lot of debate about that. I yield to questions.
With that being said, is there a motion to table SBL 11505 indefinitely? Without objection, so ordered. The Speaker Pro Tempore and the Chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions? Chairman Kuhn. Are there any other questions for the Chairman and Speaker Pro Tempore? Chairman Kuhn.
So I was not the author of the change to the legislation. The authors are here present. So I am not going to speak on their behalf, but I know that there were concerns from senators that sometimes we have unruly nominees. You know, we're concerned for our safety. And, you know, my consistent response to that has been, I think that's the exception to the rule. And in those instances, that should be an executive session matter where we meet privately to discuss it. But if we're concerned about someone in this chamber, removing them and allowing them to still watch it, they're still going to know what the senator said. They're still going to be able to find senators. We don't have personal protection. So I just feel like this blanket rule over all nominees over such specific circumstances that can be solved by executive session is just unreasonable, because for 99% of our good nominees, we're going to have to make them leave the room for something that can be solved by a simple executive session. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Vice Chairman Hensley?
There been anything changed to this bill that would alleviate the what's the word I'm looking for? The like social pressure of having someone in the room while you vote on them or discuss them? Because while we can say, sure, we need to have the moral integrity to ignore that, we can't guarantee that.
Like I've said, I think we as senators are called to have discussion in public. If we want to go into an executive session, we can do that by a majority of this Senate based on security matters. But, you know, I respect where you're coming from, but I just disagree.
We also think that your concern can be addressed, like what he's saying, with the executive session. So there is an ability to enact that if that's someone's concern. But we think just the spirit of this body as a public entity of the students should first rest in transparency. But we have tools that we can utilize to alleviate those problems if the body deems it by majority.
Are there any other questions? Chairman Kuhn.
I motion to speak on this legislation once the two authors are done speaking.
Do the chairman and Speaker Pro Tempore yield the floor? Are there any more questions? Chairwoman Creed, you are recognized.
Point of information, we can't go into executive sessions during debate periods. So,
Can you repeat your point of information to the microphone, just so everyone heard it?
point of information, we can't go into executive sessions for debate periods.
Are there any other questions for the Speaker Pro Tempore and the chairman? Thank you so much. There's been a motion to have Chairman Kuhn come and speak on this legislation. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered.
Hi, everybody. I know I'm back again, but I have just a little statement from the former author of the legislation. I'll see a couple points you gave. The legislation is the result of a long process of working with former President Newton, which is really important that this bill did pass last session. And I will say that the one bill they took away earlier was the result of improvements from that bill, and they made this new bill that made this this code we're currently talking about. This also resulted from an aggravated event last semester where somebody did get kind of verbally reckoned with. I won't say assault, but like they got.
If I could have the chairman just speak a little bit more into the microphone. And is there a motion to enter the debate period for this bill? Without objection, so ordered. Chairman Kuhn, you are recognized to speak on this legislation.
There was an event that occurred, and I think if you were there, I know most of you weren't, but if you were there, it was kind of scary, and we all saw what happened. I don't think any of us want that to happen. I don't think this is anything against any of the nominees. I think most nominees do act in a civil manner, and I think they're expected to. But I think for the safety of us all, I think it's good to have them outside the room so they have time to cool down before doing anything irrational. Because I know that personally changed my how I thought about that person I didn't know previously when they came in and decided to yell at a current senator. And I don't really think any of us deserve that because we're all people at the end of the day. And that's why I believe this legislation is needed so deeply in here. So that's why I would urge you all to vote against this piece of legislation so we all can, actually go through the process, talk about this person, how we feel necessary and it'll give them time to cool down outside of the chambers as well, so nothing irrational happens. Thank you all, and I yield to questions.
The chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairman? Speaker Pro Tempore Hurd. Are there any other questions for the chairman? Thank you so much. Are there any other senators who wish to speak on the passage of SBL 11502? Chairman Bryant? Can you repeat your motion or your movement, please? All right. There's been a motion to call the question. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. We are now in line. We are now in line for the movement of a vote on this piece of legislation. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Is there a motion for a division? Without objection, so ordered. We are now in a division. This shall be a roll call vote. A vote in the favorable, aye, is a vote for the passage of the bill. A vote in the negative, nay, is a vote to deny passage of the bill. The clerk will now call the roll.
Darby. Lazarenu.
If you could please repeat your vote and please project. The clerk will start over with the roll.
Darby. Lazarenu. Baber. Peterson. Keene. Wynn.
Thank you.
Calder. Malachi. Nelson. Kennedy. Galavati. Heater. Creed. Montalto. Durham. Caducci. Badalamani. Hurd. Miller. Whitehead. Apple. Hensley. Vaught. Kwame. Bracy. Galt. Robinson. Hamilton. Harvey. Kuhn. Sane. Bryant. Goldstein. Ravi. Barr. Morgan. Wenzel.
Have all senators answered the call? The polls are now closed. The clerk will tabulate. Is there a motion for a 1-minute recess for the tabulation of the votes? Without objection, so ordered. The Senate will now come to order. By a vote of 18 nays to 16 ayes and 3 abstentions, the legislation fails. Continuing on the call of uncontested legislation, the clerk will now read.
SBL 115-1, introduced by Speaker Pro Tempore Hurd, a bill to increase transparency and student input in the code.
Senator Morgan. Without objection, so ordered. Granted.
Oh.
All right. Chairwoman Baber. Baber, excuse me. All right. Without objection, so ordered. Granted. Senator Durham. Without objection, so ordered. Granted. Chairman Bryant. Granted. All right. Speaker Pro Tempore Hurd is recognized to speak on the bill.
Thanks, everyone. And before I went into this, I just wanted to preface I appreciate all the discussion, and I think it's healthy for a deliberative body to have disagreements and move forward. So on this bill here, this is the one, and I'll get to this at the end, but this is the one that essentially adds for a public comment period at the end of all of our committee meetings. And the idea behind this is making Senate more accessible to students who don't hold elected office. We want to hear from all students. With that being said, the way it was written, it would take the maximum number of committees you can serve on, bring it down to 2. It's my understanding that an amendment will be introduced and found friendly that will bring it back up to 3. And before that happens, I just wanted to reiterate, I always appreciate committees bringing new ideas to the table or even debate and discussion, and I'm happy to accept this. I yield to questions.
The Speaker Pro Tempore yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Speaker Pro Tempore? Chairwoman Creed. There's been a motion to add Amendment 1 to SBL 115-01. Does the sponsor find this amendment friendly or unfriendly?
Yeah, friendly.
Point of information, the amendments are also found in the amendments folder in the Google Drive on 115th legislation. The sponsor does find it friendly. The Amendment 01 to SBL 115-01 is adopted. Are there any more questions for Speaker Pro Tempore Hurd? Chairwoman Ravi.
Okay, I think it's working. I submitted an amendment earlier. Okay. Is it 02? Okay, because in here it says 01, but motion to add SBL or amendment to SBL 115-01.
There's been a motion to add Amendment 2 to SBL 115-01. It is labeled as Amendment 1 in the drive, but it is actually Amendment 2. Does the sponsor of this legislation find this amendment friendly or unfriendly?
So, point of information for senators, I believe this is the amendment that raises the minimum number of senators we need on a committee, and it would make it higher, so I am not finding it friendly.
Is there a motion for a 1-minute recess?
So moved.
Without objection, so ordered. Where did I put my... Bruh. Exactly what I would say. My question was, where did the sheet go? I will now call the Senate back to order. The sponsors of SBL 11501 find the amendment unfriendly. We shall now enter a period of debate. Does any senator wish to speak on the motion to adopt Amendment 2 to SBL 11501? Chairwoman Ravi,
Motion to speak on it.
you are recognized.
Hi, guys. So as you may know, the current bill states that the minimum number of members for the Finance Committee is 7, for Judiciary it's 5, and for Powers and Responsibilities it's also 5. All other committees must have at least 4 members. I'm trying to bump that number up to 5. As somebody who is currently the chair of the Health and Safety Committee and has been in 2 other committees in the past, I really do think we need 5 people to cover all of our initiatives. Given that we prioritize group initiatives as well as individual, I don't think 4 people is enough manpower to do that. Keep in mind, we're also in the charge of nominating people and things like that. So it is important, the more people we have, the more input we can have and the broader the opinion is. So I really believe that by bumping it up to 1 more person, we have the bandwidth to do that. And I think it would be overall beneficial for all of our committees. I don't think it's fair that Finance, Judiciary, and Powers have these limits that entitle them to more committee members than other committees do. Because other committees are still pushing out a good amount of work and they need the manpower to do that. And with that, I yield my time to questions.
The chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairwoman? Vice Chairman Hensley.
So would this just render committees that don't yet have 5 members functionless until they do, or would we just sit here and wait until someone joined?
We'd have to sit here and wait till someone joins because the committees must meet quorum.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any more questions? Chairman Bryant.
Sorry, I couldn't hear the last part. No, I mean, obviously it's not stopping you from having more than 4 people, but I would like the minimum to be 5. Yeah.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the chairwoman on the amendment? All right, seeing none.
Okay.
Chairman Kuhn.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Vice Chairman Harvey. Point of information, there are a couple senators that have emailed us about just some clerical errors, so we're still trying to work through those. Yep. Also, point of information too, I think it's relevant to this amendment, the group me is the accurate. The group me is an accurate form as well. But anyways. Are there any other questions for the chairwoman?
Thank you for letting me know.
Any other questions for the chairwoman on the amendment? All right. Seeing none, thank you. Is there any other senator wishing to speak on the adoption of Amendment 2 to SBL 11501? The question is the adoption of the amendment. Per the Senate Rules of Procedure on amendments, this shall be a voice vote. A vote in the affirmative aye is to adopt the amendment to SBL 11501. A vote in the negative nay will be to reject the amendment being attached to SBL 11501. Point of information, you are not voting on the bill itself. You're voting on whether you want to add the amendment to the bill. And just to repeat, a vote in the affirmative aye is to adopt the amendment. A vote in the negative nay will be to reject the amendment from the bill. Vice Chairman Harvey. Can you repeat your... It is, point of information, it is just amendment number 2, sponsored by Chairwoman Ravi. Chairwoman Heater. Is there a motion for a question of inquiry? Or a motion of inquiry? Okay. Can you repeat that? I believe that is more of a question for the sponsor of the amendment. It is not necessarily a question for the chair to answer. Is there a motion for Chairwoman Ravi to come back up and answer the question on the amendment? Is there a motion? Without objection, so ordered.
So to answer your question, again, I didn't super specifically write down what I wanted, but to be fair, I understand that not a lot of senators are present today. So if this amendment were to pass and you guys are technically under quorum, I would not mind it being deferred to August so that when we have a more present Senate session, you guys can add a 5th member to your committee.
Are there any other questions for Chairwoman Ravi on the amendment? Is there any other senator wishing to speak on the amendment? Now the question is of the adoption of the amendment. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Nay. It is the opinion of the chair. There has been a division called. Is there a motion for a roll call vote? Without objection, so ordered. Point of information, the clerk will now call the roll. It works the same process as a voice vote. Please project when you say your aye and your nays. And you're not voting on the bill, you're voting on whether the amendment should be packaged in with the bill. The clerk will now call the roll.
Darby. Lazarenu. Baber. Peterson. Keene. Nguyen. Calder. Malachi. Nelson. Kennedy. Galavati. Heater. Creed. Montalto. Durham. Gudusi. Badlamani. Hurd. Miller. Whitehead.
A vote in the aye is to adopt the amendment into the bill. A vote in the negative nay will be to reject the amendment.
Apple. Hensley. Vaught. Kwame. Bracy. Galt. Robinson. Hamilton. Harvey.
Vice Chairman Harvey's vote is an aye.
Kuhn. Sane. Bryant. Goldstein. Ravi. Barr. Morgan. Wenzel.
Thank you. Senator Robinson is proxy nay. If I could have Vice Chairman Galavati repeat her vote, please. She votes in the nay. If I could have Senator Miller repeat her vote, please. She votes in the aye. Are there any other senator wishing to vote? The polls are now closed. The clerk will now tabulate. Is there a motion for a 1-minute recess for the tabulation of the votes on the amendment? Without objection, so ordered. Yeah, we're in recess. You can go ahead. Oh, hey Ian, if you could tell any senators out there that we're going to come back in just a second. Thank you so much. The Senate will now come back to order. If I could have all senators come back to their seats, please. Since that was an extended recess, we're going to have the clerk call the roll one more time. The clerk will now call the roll.
Darby. Lazarenu. Baber. Peterson. Keen. Wynn. Calder. Malachi. Nelson. Kennedy. Galavati. Heater. Creed. Montalto. Durham. Fiduci. Badlamani. Hurd. Miller. Whitehead. Apple. Hensley. Vaught. Kwame. Bracy. Galt. Robinson. Hamilton. Harvey. Kuhn. Sane. Bryant. Goldstein. Ravi. Barr. Morgan. Wenzel.
And Senator Lazarenu is present. Are there any senators who didn't answer the roll call that wishes to cast their presence? With a quorum being present, by a vote of 19 ayes and 16 nays, the amendment is adopted. We shall now move on to a vote on the final passage of the legislation. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The legislation is adopted. Continuing on the call of uncontested legislation, the clerk will now read.
SBL 150.
Hearing none, that completes the call of uncontested legislation. We are now on the call of the contested calendar. The clerk will now read.
SBL 115-4, introduced by Speaker Pro Tempore Hurd, a bill to amend the codes relating to the Senate attendance policy and dress code.
Speaker Pro Tempore Hurd, you are recognized.
I'll keep this brief because I know this is running long. So this is the bill that tweaked the attendance policy, but more importantly, made the dress code applicable, or basically carved out a way for our School of Music senators to still come here in lieu of the dress code requirements. And the reason why we had to do this is because there's no current dress code in the codes. It's just kind of like a make-believe dress code. It's my understanding that there will be a friendly amendment to get rid of the attendance policy portion, and I just want to save everyone the time, so I'll yield to questions.
The Speaker Pro Tempore Hurd yields to questions. Point of information, just as we're all learning rules of procedure at the same time, since the last piece of legislation was on the uncontested calendar, it automatically moves to a vote, not a roll call vote, but a voice vote, after the passage or the adoption of the amendments. So the first amendment was found friendly, so it was automatically adopted into the legislation. The second amendment was found unfriendly. We did a voice vote on it. Then it was, then a motion was to have it a roll call, and the ayes had it. So then the amendment was adopted as well. So Amendment 1 and Amendment 2 were adopted into that piece of legislation. Then it moved straight to a vote rather than a period of debate, since it was on the uncontested calendar. Are there any questions for Speaker Pro Tempore Hurd? Chairwoman Rabi.
Motion to add Amendment 1 to SBL 11504.
There's been a motion to add Amendment 1 to SBL 11504. Does the sponsor find this amendment friendly?
Yes.
Since the sponsor finds the amendment friendly, the amendment is adopted. Chairman Kuhn.
Motion to pass by voice acclamation. Suspend the rules for pass the vote by voice acclamation.
Point of information, a pass by acclamation is usually what happens on the first calendar. This is on the second contested calendar if you want to revise your motion. Speaker Pro Tempore Hurd. Point of information, if the mic dies, just yell.
There is a motion to suspend the rules and allow for a voice vote on this piece of legislation.
There's been a motion to suspend the rules to allow a voice vote on this piece of legislation. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. We are now in a voice vote of this legislation. A vote in the affirmative aye is to adopt the legislation. A vote in the negative nay will be to reject the passage of the legislation. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? It is the opinion of the chair that the ayes do have it. The piece of legislation is adopted. The legislation is adopted. Continuing on the call of the contested legislation, the clerk will now read.
SBL 115-3, introduced by Chairman Bryant, a bill to amend the codes relating to the Speaker Pro Tempore.
Chairman Bryant, you are recognized.
Hello, everybody. So, like Speaker Pro Tem Hurd, I'm going to try to keep this short because I know people want to get to what they want to do. So, essentially, I'm just going to address the areas that seem to me to be contentious because working with another senator, I believe that they've been alleviated. And Senator Kuhn, Chairman Kuhn, will get up and also speak on why he believes that it's been alleviated. But essentially, just quick rundown. This bill did make it to where it listed some things with Speaker Pro Tempore to where they are listed as actually a senator. They're with the same rights and privileges as a senator, as well as making it clear that they actually chair the Rules Committee instead of just having some de facto pieces. And then there was the process for like the removal and recall of the Pro Tempore. So technically the amendments have not been formally adopted to it, but I'm just going to speak on them briefly. So essentially, originally the legislation required that there was essentially a petition that had to be done, basically to have standing, that enough people wanted to actually do this to make it justiciable. But working with Senator Kuhn, we came to a compromise that we would instead have it to where a person who wishes to make that motion would have to notify the speaker that they are going to make that motion 24 hours before the start of the Senate meeting, and that then the speaker must, per the codes, notify the pro tempore that that motion will be heard. But the names of the people making that motion are anonymous. So if there's any issues that people had with that, that is now resolved. Then the next part was 2/3 of all senators in office to vote to remove passing the motion. Working with Senator Kuhn, we talked about it, had good discussion, and we compromised and went back to 1/2. So it's now 1/2 in office vote for it, and so those are the amendments. I hope those have alleviated the controversies in order so we can continue to get through with the people's business and get going with our evening. I yield to questions.
The chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions or motions for the chairman? Chairman Kuhn. Can you repeat your motion, please? There's been a motion to add Amendment 2 and 3 to SBL 11503. Does the sponsor find this friendly or unfriendly?
Both friendly.
The sponsor finds it friendly. The amendments are adopted. Are there any other questions for Chairman Bryant? Senator Hamilton.
Yeah, so I'll go back over it again. So essentially now, for the recall of the Speaker Pro Temp, if someone wishes to make a motion on the floor to do that, they have to notify the Speaker 24 hours before that meeting. And then the Speaker has to then notify the Pro Temp that will be actually coming to the floor. Senator Kuhn and I discussed it. We thought it was best in order to try to avoid just blindsiding people and to give each other the respect that, hey, this is coming down the pipeline, like just, be aware, so we don't get into a meeting and people are just like, wow, what's going on? But also it gives the Pro Temp, whoever it may be, their due process so they can, take some time to defend themselves, if you will, instead of just being thrown out. And then the other issue was the 2/3 of all senators. It's now 1/2. So it reduces it from my 2/3 to our compromise of 1/2. Does that help?
Are there any other questions for the chairman? Seeing no more questions, we shall now enter a period of debate. Are there any senators who wish to speak on the passage of SBL 11503? Chairman Kuhn, you are recognized to speak.
First, I'd like to thank Chairman Bryant for accepting those amendments. I think those really clarified a lot of the process for us and got rid of the more controversial aspects of this bill. I wanted it down to half because I think the pro tempore position is not an executive position, and I think we are all here, we all elected them, so it makes it easier for us to recall the person who we elected in the first place. And yeah, if any of you would like to have questions, I will yield the questions.
The chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairman? Seeing none, thank you so much. Are there any other senators wishing to speak on the passage of SBL 11503? Hearing and seeing no more debate, we shall move to a vote on this legislation. Chairman Bryant. There's been a motion to suspend the rules to have a voice vote on this piece of legislation. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. We are now in line for a voice vote on this piece of legislation. A vote in the affirmative aye is to adopt and pass the legislation. A vote in the negative nay will be to reject the legislation and have it not pass. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? It is opinion of the chair that the ayes do have it. The legislation is adopted. Continuing on the call of contested legislation, the clerk will read. Hearing none, we are now in line for a period of open discussion. Does any senator wish to bring a matter of attention to the body? Vice Chairman Hensley. All right. Any other senators wishing to bring attention to the body? Any other senators wishing to bring attention to the body? Hearing none, we are now in line for a period of announcements. Are there any announcements from the floor? Chairwoman Robbie.
Hi, lovely people. So thank you for bearing with a very long Senate session. I just have an announcement to make that I did make last week as well. Discover USC is on Friday, and please be there if you can. Again, a lot of us who do research on campus, we put in a lot of long hours, and we work on a lot of really cool, interesting projects. I will not be presenting this year, but I just found out that I won a grant, so I will be presenting next year. But there are a couple of people that are in my lab who have been in the lab for so long, and they take a lot of effort and they work very hard. So if you guys would like to come out and see what the Whisker Lab does or any lab does at Discovery USC, that would be great. Support your scientists.
Does the chairwoman yield to questions?
I yield to questions.
Are there any questions for the chairwoman? Seeing none, thank you so much. And before we adjourn, I do have one announcement. I would just like to thank all of you for being such active senators today. I know you're giving me a fight up here with those rules of procedure, so I love it. Please keep it up. I would say I am learning just as you guys are learning at the same time. So I've already made a couple notes for myself on how things will be conducted a little bit differently. But overall, I thought you guys did a great job on your motions. Please, the work that you've put in, do not lose it over the summer. Obviously, have a great summer, have a great finals. Don't focus on this necessarily, but when we get back into the fall, we get into our main legislative, I would say, dash. So please take the summer to think about what you really want to do in this position and how you can best serve the student body. I'd also like to say thank you to everyone who joined the Summer Advisory Committee. Speaker Pro Tempore Hurd and I will be reaching out as we get closer to the first meeting about what that will look like. But overall, the committee will produce a form and a report that will go out to every student government member about the inner workings of the university over the summer. And just as a kind of a recap of the execs will be here over the summer and some capacity working on making sure the fall comes into a smooth transition. We'll be also going to the SEC Exchange in July in Oxford, Mississippi at Ole Miss. And so once we get back from the SEC Exchange, we will put in the report from SAC ideas that we've gotten from other SEC schools and things that we can do to improve our student government here. And with that, I hope you have a very restful summer, a great finals. If you have any questions or concerns, I still have the same office hours next week. Just come on by. And I hope to see you all in the fall. I yield to questions. Seeing none. With no further announcements, is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? Without objection, the Senate will now stand adjourned until Wednesday, August 30th, 2023. Please bring your placards to the front. Thank you.